Thank you very much, everyone, for coming to ISKCON of Silicon Valley. We're also known as ISV. I know we don't have a sign out in front yet. There's been a lengthy permit process just to get a sign here, but pretty soon you'll see a sign that says ISV, International Society for Krishna Consciousness at Silicon Valley. And they have a little note at the bottom that says, all are welcome. Because this process is non-sectarian. It's meant for everybody. Right now, all over the world, there are Russians, there are Chinese, there are Koreans, Vietnamese, Australians. Who else are there in the world? Africans. Come on, name a few more. Cambodians, Portuguese, Mexicans, Australians, Indians. Where else? Kazakhstan. There's a place called, and Fiji. Where else? Indonesia. Where else? Mongolia. Nepal. Where else? There's more places in the world. Where? Dubai. Saudi Arabia. Right now there's people in Saudi Arabia chanting Hare Krishna. Everywhere in the world there's people chanting Hare Krishna. That powerful vibration goes all around the world. Anyone who says Hare Krishna, that vibration breaks through the coverings and goes all around the world 7 times. So think of the power of so many people all over the world making this vibration of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So our goal here, our mission is very simple here at ISV. Our mission is to serve all living beings by widely spreading the holy name of God, Krishna. And we got this mission from Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who said, Jive doi Krishna nam sarva dharma sar. The essence of all religion is to show compassion to other living entities by giving them the holy names of God. So that's our mission here. Please come help us spread it. We're going all over Silicon Valley, door to door, canvassing. We're putting sets of books in people's houses. We're asking them to chant Hare Krishna, and more people are coming, and we're starting a movement. We want to dance through the streets. We want to close down the 101 freeway and just have dancing down the streets of the 101 freeway, and no one go to work for a whole week, just chanting Hare Krishna. And we'll fill up big stadiums. Right now in Poland, there's a huge festival going on called Woodstock, and there's tens of thousands of devotees dancing and singing to the Maha Mantra. So all over the world. So please come join this great movement. It's moving all over the world. The prediction is already there by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that it'll spread to every town and village, and anyone who takes part in it can also take credit for helping spread this movement. And now one of the great pioneers of the Hare Krishna movement, His Holiness Kesava Bharati Goswami, who resides in Govardhan, near Vrindavan, India, in a very sacred place. If you walk into his tiny little room in the ashram, on every corner you'll see bookshelves full with Vedic literature. He's dedicated his life to spreading the holy name and also cultivating. And so now he's going to share with us what he's learned. Over to you, Kesava Bharati Goswami.
Hare Krishna. To confirm what my best friend just said, I'm going to read to you from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. You know, Krishna, he appeared 5,000 years ago, and he displayed the pastimes of Goloka Vrindavan, and to attract us back to him. And he revealed his position in the Bhagavad Gita to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Padam Dhamma Padam Bhavam Pavitram Padamam Bhavan. But after he left, he thought, it's been a long time since I've delivered this love for me freely, without demanding surrender or anything. Then he appeared again, 500 years ago, in the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nayanya. Nayanya means no difference. There's no difference between Radha and Krishna and Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya is Krishna in the mood of Srimati Radharani. Srimati Radharani is the most merciful, compassionate, nourishing person. The internal potency of Krishna. Shakti. I'm reading from Adi Lila, Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 9, beginning with text 7, to confirm what Vaisheshika Prabhu just said about this mission and our part, what our part of the mission actually is, according to the will of the Lord. Lord Chaitanya thought, my name is Vishwambar, one who maintains the entire universe. Its meaning will be actualized if I can fill the whole universe with love of Godhead. Thinking in this way, he accepted the duty of a planter and began to grow a garden in Nabadweep. Thus the Lord brought the desired tree of devotional service to this earth and became its gardener. He sowed the seed and sprinkled upon it the water of his will. All glories to Sri Madhavendra Puri, the storehouse of all devotional service unto Krishna. He is a desired tree of devotional service, and it is in him that the seed of devotional service first fructified. Our acharyas, our preceptors, revealed that Madhavendra Puri was actually an incarnation of the desired tree that stands at the center of Braj in the Yogapith, that shade the divine couple when they're sitting in their Singhasan. The seed of devotional service next fructified in the form of Sri Ishwara Puri. And then the gardener himself, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, became the main trunk of the tree of devotional service. Now this happened about 500 years ago. This is not 5 million, billion, trillion like we hear in the Puranas. This is 500 years ago. Columbus discovered America at about this time. And where was Columbus going? What was he looking for? He was trying to go find a shorter route to India. Why? Because India was so opulent. The whole world was beating a path to India at that time. Why? Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna himself, had taken birth. And whenever Krishna takes birth, that place becomes opulent beyond conception. By his inconceivable powers, the Lord became the gardener, the trunk, and the branches simultaneously. Paramananda Puri, Kesava Bharati, Brahmananda Puri, and Brahmananda Bharati, Sri Vishnu Puri, Kesava Puri, Krishnananda Puri, Sri Nishingatirtha, and Sukhananda Puri. These 9 sannyasi roots all sprouted from the trunk of the tree. Thus the tree stood steadfastly on the strength of these 9 roots. With the sober and grave Paramananda Puri as the central root and the other 8 roots in the 8 directions, the tree of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stood firmly. From the trunk grew many branches, and above them innumerable others. Thus the branches of the Chaitanya tree formed a cluster or society with great branches covering all the universe. Srila Prabhupada comments, our International Society for Krishna Consciousness is one of the branches of the Chaitanya tree. So you're sitting right now on the Chaitanya tree, a branch of the Chaitanya tree. ISV. From each branch grew many hundreds of sub-branches. No one can count how many branches thus grew. I shall try to name the foremost of the innumerable branches. Please hear the description of the Chaitanya tree. At the top of the tree, the trunk branched into two. One trunk was named Sri Advaita Prabhu, and the other Sri Nityananda Prabhu. From these two trunks grew many branches and sub-branches that covered the entire world. These branches and sub-branches and their sub-branches became so numerous that no one can actually write about them. Thus, the disciples and the grand disciples and their admirers spread throughout the entire world, and it is not possible to enumerate them all. As a big fig tree bears fruits all over its body, each part of the tree of devotional service bore fruit. Since Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was the original trunk, the taste of the fruits that grew on the branches and sub-branches surpassed the taste of nectar. The fruits ripened and became sweet and nectarian. The gardener, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, distributed them without asking any price. When we were chanting together, and even now hearing Chaitanya Charitamrita together, we're tasting nectar. And that nectar is the ripened fruit of the tree of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And it's free. You get this nectar whether you give anything or not. Lord Chaitanya is giving, the Panchatattva are giving freely. All the wealth in the three worlds cannot equal the value of one such nectarian fruit of devotional service. One of them sitting right here, chanting, leading this chanting. And everyone can taste it. Not considering who asked for it and who did not, nor who was fit and who unfit to receive it. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu distributed the fruit of devotional service. The purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. This is the sum and substance of Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement. There is no distinction made between those who are fit and those who are not fit to hear or to take part in the Sankirtan movement. It should therefore be preached without discrimination. The only purpose of the preachers of the Sankirtan movement must be to go on preaching without restriction. That is the way in which Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu introduced this Sankirtan movement to the world. The transcendental gardener, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, distributed handful after handful of fruit in all directions. And when the poor, hungry people ate the fruit, the gardener smiled with great pleasure. Lord Chaitanya thus addressed the multifarious varieties of branches and sub-branches of the tree of devotional service. So you can take it that Lord Chaitanya, through the Chaitanya Charitamrita, right now, at this moment, is speaking to all of us, personally, individually. Since the tree of devotional service is transcendental, every one of its parts can perform the action of all the others. Although a tree is supposed to be immovable, this tree nonetheless moves. Purport. It is our experience in the material world that trees stand in one place. But in the spiritual world, a tree can go from one place to another. Therefore, everything in the spiritual world is called alaukika, uncommon or transcendental. Another feature of such a tree is that it can act universally. In the material world, the roots of a tree go deep within the earth to gather food. But in the spiritual world, the twigs, branches, and leaves of the upper portion of the tree can act like the roots. All the parts of this tree are spiritually cognizant, and thus, as they grow, they spread all over the world. I am the only gardener. How many places can I go? How many fruits can I pick and distribute? Here, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu indicates that the distribution of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra should be performed by combined forces. Although he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he laments, how can I act alone? How can I alone pick the fruit and distribute it all over the world? This indicates that all classes of devotees should combine to distribute the Hare Krishna Mahamantra without consideration of the time, place, or situation. It would certainly be a very laborious task to pick the fruits and distribute them alone. And still, I suspect that some would receive them and others would not. Therefore, I order every man within this universe to accept the Krishna consciousness movement and distribute it everywhere. In this connection, there is a song sung by Sri Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Enechi au shadimaya nashi badalagi harinama mahamantra lao tumi magi bhakti vinoda prabhu charana puriya say harinama mantra laila magiya. The Sankirtan movement has been introduced by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just to dispel the illusion of Maya, by which everyone in this material world thinks himself to be a product of matter, and therefore to have many duties pertaining to the body. Actually, the living entity is not his material body. He is a spirit soul. He has a spiritual need to be eternally blissful and full of knowledge. But unfortunately, he identifies himself with the body, sometimes as a human being, sometimes as an animal, sometimes a tree, sometimes an aquatic, sometimes a demigod, and so on. Thus, with each change of body, he develops a different type of consciousness, with different types of activities, and thus becomes increasingly entangled in material existence, transmigrating perpetually from one body to another. Under the spell of Maya, or illusion, he does not consider the past or future, but is simply satisfied with the short lifespan that he has gotten for the present. To eradicate this illusion, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has brought the Sankirtan movement, and he requests everyone to accept and distribute it. A person who is actually a follower of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur must immediately accept the request of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by offering respectful obeisances unto his lotus feet, and thus beg from him the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. If one is fortunate enough to beg from the Lord this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, his life is successful. I am the only gardener, Lord Chaitanya says. If I do not distribute these fruits, what shall I do with them? How many fruits can I alone eat? By the transcendental desire of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, water has been sprinkled all over the tree. And thus, there are innumerable fruits of love of Godhead. Purport by His Divine Grace. Are you still with me? Yes. God is unlimited, and His desires are also unlimited. This example of unlimited fruits is factually appropriate even within the material context. For with the good will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there can be enough fruits, grain, and other foodstuffs produced so that all the people of the world could not finish them. The other day I saw on the internet one illustration done by one artist. They took through the computer, what do they call that? Generation of computer graphics. And they showed all the human beings on the earth, 6 billion of them, between 6 and 7 billion of them. And they piled them all together in a pile. Just like here in this room, we have so many human beings. So in this graphic demonstration, the artist piled all the bodies of the human beings virtually, not really, virtually, in a pile and put it in the middle of the Grand Canyon. And it only took up a little tiny part of it. Of course, it was piled up this way, not just this way. Only took a little part, just a fragment of the Grand Canyon. There is enough earth to produce enough food to feed 100 times the present population of the earth and more. But the problem is greed. Greed has caused the earth to be used for simply cash crops. And the food that nourish us is getting more and more and more expensive by this mismanagement. In this material world, God is unlimited, and His desires are also unlimited. This example of unlimited fruits is factually appropriate even within the material context. For with the goodwill of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there can be enough fruits, grain, and other foodstuffs produced so that all the people in the world could not finish them, even if they ate 10 times their capacity. In this material world, there is actually no scarcity of anything but Krishna consciousness. If people become Krishna conscious by the transcendental will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there will be enough foodstuffs produced so that people will have no economic problems at all. One can very easily understand this fact. The production of fruits and flowers depends not upon our will, but upon the supreme will of the personality of Godhead. If he is pleased, he can supply enough fruits, flowers, and so on. But if people are atheistic and godless, then nature, by his will, restricts the supply of food. For example, in several provinces in India, especially Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh, and other adjoining states, there is sometimes a great scarcity of foodstuffs due to lack of rainfall. So-called scientists and economists cannot do anything about this. Therefore, to solve all the problems, one must seek the goodwill of the Supreme Personality of Godhead by becoming Krishna conscious and worshiping him regularly in devotional service. Now, what they'll fight over? You know? Water. That's the next thing. Not even oil. They'll fight over water, because no one can live without water. And Krishna is the taste of that water. Lord Chaitanya continues, distribute this Krishna consciousness movement all over the world. Let people eat these fruits and ultimately become free from old age and death. Purport. The Krishna consciousness movement introduced by Lord Chaitanya is extremely important because one who takes to it becomes eternal, being freed from birth, death, and old age. They are so foolish that they resign themselves to these four miseries: birth, death, old age, and disease, not knowing the transcendental remedy of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, one can become free from all misery. But because they are enchanted by the illusory energy, people do not take this movement seriously. Therefore, those who are actually servants of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu must seriously distribute this movement all over the world to render the greatest benefit to human society. Of course, animals and other lower species are not capable of understanding this movement, but even if a small number of human beings take it seriously, then by their chanting loudly, all living entities, including even trees, animals, and other lower species, will be benefited. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu inquired from Haridas Thakur how he was to benefit living entities other than humans, Srila Haridas Thakur replied that the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is so potent that if it is chanted loudly, everyone will benefit, including the lower species of life. Lord Chaitanya continues, if the fruits are distributed all over the world, my reputation as a pious man will be known everywhere, and thus all people will glorify my name with great pleasure. Purport. This was, by the way, 500 years ago. That was written 500 years ago. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. This prediction of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is now actually coming to pass. The Krishna consciousness movement is being distributed all over the world through the chanting of the holy name of the Lord, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And people who were leading confused, chaotic lives are now feeling transcendental happiness. They are finding peace in Sankirtan, and therefore they are acknowledging the supreme benefit of this movement. So here we are, sitting in Silicon Valley, California, a long way from Navadvip, a long way from time and space of Lord Chaitanya making this statement. And here we are, all chanting this Hare Krishna mantra together. And I dare make the claim that all of us were tasting some transcendental happiness during the chanting. Is it true or not? Is it true or not? Therefore, we don't have to be speculative. We don't have to doubt this truth because it's fact. It was spoken by Lord Chaitanya 500 years ago, and today this chanting of Hare Krishna is actually spreading to every town and village of the world. I grew up just north of here, a little town, Northern California, Oroville. Yeah, I grew up in Oroville, California. And I was growing up, I never heard the word Krishna. I didn't even know what it meant. And now, Krishna has become a household name everywhere, all over the world. In just a few years, a few short years, 40, 50 years. This is the proof, positive, that these literatures that we're distributing all over the world, Chaitanya Charitamrita especially, is the fruit of Lord Chaitanya's movement. By hearing these literatures together, the spell of illusion is dispelled in the heart, and we can actually taste something from deep inside. And if you read these books, as Vaisheshika Prabhu was saying just earlier, I don't know how many of you were in the room, he was enlisting recruits in Chad, chanting of a chapter of the Bhagavad Gita every day. If you do this, it's not that your life will stop. It's not that you won't still get a cold or whatever. But within the heart, not that pain won't still be there, but the suffering will go away. We're experiencing this ourselves. Even in pain, you don't have to suffer. Now, there's a huge concern in the world about depression. Even famous people are becoming depressed and even taking their own lives. It's illegal, both materially and spiritually. So there's this whole hue and cry, what to do about depression? What to do about depression? What to do about depression? Well, here's what to do about depression. If you hear Srila Prabhupada's books, if you chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, your heart will sing with joy. It will dance. Even if you stay in the same place, even if you have the same boss who is obnoxious, maybe. Even if your kids won't be quiet sometimes and drive you a little crazy, along with us. Hare Krishna. We won't suffer. This is the proof. It's not faith. This is not faith-based. This is not Hinduism or Christianity or Islam or Buddhism. This is spiritual truth. When we leave our bodies, it's not that in the spiritual world, there's a sign, with different directions. Christians this way, Hindus this way, Muslims this way, Buddhists this way. You go to the pearly gates, then you go to your ghetto. Can you imagine it? Can you imagine it? No. No one can imagine it because it's not true. We're not this body. We're not Hindus. We're not Christians. We're not Muslims. We're not Buddhists. But because everyone's thinking like that, now they're fighting like cats and dogs. And thinking, that other group isn't worshiping God, only we are worshiping God. We should eliminate them so that everyone will worship God. This is the deepest, darkest ignorance, illusion. And this is the source of suffering. But Lord Chaitanya's movement, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, being distributed by Lord Chaitanya's movement, dispels this illusion. Therefore you see us in this room, a microcosm of what can be and what is happening in the world more and more. Devotees are coming from all religions. They're coming from all nationalities. They're coming from all social groups. They're coming from all races. And when we chant together, what happens? It all melts away those differences. And we taste the nectar of being in a spiritual family, in the spiritual world. And that's what Lord Chaitanya's movement is. It's Krishna coming in the form of Lord Chaitanya with the mood of Srimati Radharani. Lord Krishna and Radharani in the same form is coming to distribute the highest tastes of devotional life, the highest ecstasies, free. Even you don't surrender, never mind, just come here and chant Hare Krishna with us. And you will taste it, just as you are tasting it right now, at this moment. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada says in the purport of this verse, this is the blessing of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. His prediction is now factually being fulfilled. And those who are sober and conscientious are appreciating the value of this great movement. So don't think that this movement is just some sentimental, faith-based, temporary movement. Lord Chaitanya continues, one who has taken birth, listen up, listen up. Who's listening? Okay, pretty good percentage. One who has taken his birth as a human being in the land of India, Bharatvarsha, should make his life successful and work for the benefit of all other people. The magnanimity of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is expressed in this very important verse. Although he was born in Bengal, and Bengalis therefore have a special duty toward him, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is addressing not only Bengalis, confirmed, but all the inhabitants of India. It is in the land of India that actual human civilization can be developed. Human life is especially meant for God realization, as stated in the Vedanta Sutra, Atato, Brahma, Jigyasa. Atato means now, Jigyasa means inquire, and Brahma means the absolute truth. In this context, the word Atato, now, means now that I have a human form of life. Because if you don't have a human form of life, you can't be reading it. Atato Brahma Jigyasya. Now is the time to inquire about the absolute truth. Anyone who takes birth in the land of India, Bharatvarsha, has the special privilege of being able to take advantage of the instruction and guidance of the Vedic civilization. He automatically receives the basic principles of spiritual life. For 99.9% of the Indian people, even simple village farmers and others who are neither educated nor sophisticated, what to speak of all of you here, high-tech, East Silicon Valley characters, believe in the transmigration of the soul, believe in past and future lives, believe in God, and naturally want to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead or His representative. These ideas are the natural inheritance of a person born in India. India has many holy places of pilgrimage, such as Gaya, Benares, Mathura, Prayag, Vrindavan, Haridwar, Rameshwaram, and Jagannath Puri. And still, people go there by the hundreds and thousands. Although the present leaders of India are influencing the people not to believe in God, well, now we've had a big election. Maybe that'll change to a certain extent. This was written in 1975, and the Congress still had a stranglehold on the Parliament. Although the present leaders of India are influencing the people not to believe in God, not to believe in a next life, and not to believe in a distinction between pious and impious life, and although they're teaching them how to drink wine, eat meat, and become supposedly civilized, people are nevertheless afraid of the four activities of sinful life, namely illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling. And whenever there is a religious festival, they gather together by the thousands. We have actual experience of this. Whenever the Krishna consciousness movement holds a Sankirtan festival in a big city like Kolkata, Bombay, Madras, Chennai, Mumbai, time is changing, Ahmedabad or Hyderabad, thousands of people come to hear. Sometimes we speak in English, but even though most people do not understand English, they nevertheless come to hear us. Even when imitation incarnations of Godhead speak, people gather in the thousands. For everyone who is born in the land of India has a natural spiritual inclination and is taught the basic principles of spiritual life. You know, Prabhupada told us, the two most pious countries in the world are India and America. In God we trust. Right on the money. Maybe I think she's on her way out now. Haribo. Haribo. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says here, Janma sartaka kari kara para upakar. If an Indian is educated in the Vedic principles, he is able to perform the most beneficial welfare activity for the entire world. At present, for want of Krishna consciousness or God consciousness, the entire world is in darkness, having been covered by the four principles of sinful life: meat eating, illicit sex, gambling, and intoxication. Therefore, there is need for vigorous propaganda to educate people to refrain from sinful activities. This will bring peace and prosperity. The rogues, thieves, and debauchees will naturally decrease in number, and all of human society will be God conscious. This is possible. The practical effect of our spreading the Krishna consciousness movement all over the world is that now the most degraded debauchees are becoming the most elevated saints. Here we sit in front of you. If this is not graphic evidence, I don't know what is. In the history of the world, a Western person is here explaining these things, mainly to Indian-bodied people. It's never happened before in a foreign country. In the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a verse that says that Indian-bodied people will take birth and travel all over the world, waiting for Lord Chaitanya to pick them up so that they can help spread the Krishna consciousness movement all over the world. It's in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. 5,000 years ago it was written down. Write it in your book. Write it in your book. It's happening now. This is now Prabhupada speaking. This is Srila Prabhupada speaking. This is only one Indian's humble attempt to serve the world. What he did. If all Indians had taken to this path, as advised by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, India would have given a great, unique gift to the world. And thus India would have been glorified. Now, however, India is known as a poverty-stricken country. This is 1975. It's coming up now. Still. And whenever anyone from America or another opulent country goes to India, he sees many people lying on the footpaths for whom there is not even provisions for 2 meals a day. There are also institutions collecting money from all parts of the world in the name of welfare activities for poverty-stricken people. But they are spending it for their own sense gratification. Now, on the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Krishna consciousness movement has been started, and people are benefiting from this movement. Therefore, it is now the duty of the leading men of India to consider the importance of this movement and train many Indians to go outside of India to preach this cult. So here we are. People will accept it. And there will be cooperation among the Indian people and among the other people of the world, and the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will then be fulfilled. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will then be glorified all over the world, and people will naturally be happy, peaceful, and prosperous. Not only in this life, but also in the next. For as stated in the Bhagavad Gita, anyone who understands Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, will very easily get salvation or freedom from the repetition of birth and death and go back home, back to Godhead. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore requests every Indian to become a preacher of his cult and save the world from disastrous confusion. This is not only the duty of Indians, but the duty of everyone. And we are very happy that American and European boys and girls are seriously cooperating with this movement. One should know definitely that the best welfare activity for all of human society is to awaken man's God consciousness or Krishna consciousness. Therefore, everyone should help this great movement. This is confirmed in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 22nd chapter, verse 35, which is next quoted in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Itabaj janma sapalyam dehinam iva dehishu pranayar artar diya bacha shreya acharanam sada. It is the duty of every living being to perform welfare activities for the benefit of others with his life, wealth, intelligence, and words. Purport. There are 2 kinds of general activities. Shreyas, or activities which are ultimately beneficial and auspicious, and prayas, or those which are immediately beneficial and auspicious. For example, children are fond of playing or crying. They do not want to go to school or to receive an education or let the speakers speak. Oh, that's my edit. Sorry. And they think that to play all day and night and enjoy with their friends is the aim of life. Even in the transcendental life of Lord Krishna, we find that when he was a child, he was very fond of playing with his friends of the same age, the cowherd boys. He would not even go home to take his dinner. Madhya Yashoda would have to come out and induce him to come home. Thus, it is a child's nature to engage all day and night in playing, not caring even for his health and other important concerns. This is an example of prayas, or immediately beneficial activities. But there are also shreyas, or activities which are ultimately auspicious. According to Vedic civilization, a human being must be God conscious. He should understand what God is, what this material world is, who He is, and what their interrelationships are. This is called shreyas, or ultimately auspicious activity. This is spiritual education. Spiritual education is lacking all over the world. There are no courses in any of the major universities or public schools in the world which is teaching spiritual education. Now we all want to become computer scientists or engineers, isn't it? You don't have to stop being computer scientists or engineers. You can continue to be computer scientists and engineers. But we must educate ourselves. Srila Prabhupada worked day and night. He got up in the middle of the night. He would go to bed at 10 and he would get up at 12. And he would translate and comment on the essence of the Vedic scriptures. And these purports, these explanations are, he told us himself, his transcendental ecstasies. You can get the association of a transcendentally situated, ecstatic personality simply by reading the purports of Srila Prabhupada's books. These are the fruits that Lord Chaitanya was talking about. These are the fruits of the Krishna consciousness movement. In this verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that one should be interested in shreyas. To achieve the ultimate goal of shreyas, or good fortune, one should engage everything, including his life, wealth, and words, not only for himself, but for others also. However, unless one is interested in shreyas in his own life, he cannot preach of shreyas for the benefit of others. Lord Chaitanya is a person, just like us. He's the supreme person. He feels compassion, just like we feel compassion when we see others suffering. So this Krishna consciousness movement is meant to try to relieve the anxiety that Lord Chaitanya feels, seeing the conditioned souls, all of us in this material world, suffering. This is the way to make friendship with Krishna. And when you make friendship with someone, naturally they want to give you. And Krishna's got everything to give. So please, take this Krishna consciousness movement. Take these books into your homes. Everyone. A full set of Prabhupada's books into your home. Everyone. The atmosphere in your home will change just by putting the books there. And people will be interested. You'll be interested. Just like you're interested in what we're reading now. We're just reading Prabhupada's purports to you. They're so powerful. They're so potent. They're so sweet. They can give you a taste of what it means to be free from anxiety, free from suffering, on the spot. This is not in the future. This is on the spot. We can taste it. So on this most holy of days, the birthday of Krishna, the appearance of Krishna in this material world, let us band together, chant, dance, serve, commit ourselves. As soon as we commit ourselves to something, as Vaisheshika Prabhu was always saying, there's an inner genius inside of us, every one of us. And things move in ways that we can't imagine. As soon as we commit to something auspicious. Hare Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Sri Krishna Janmastami ki jai. Gaur Premanandi. Hare Krishna. Look at all the shadow.
We thank His Holiness Kesava Bharati Goswami